Imagine this. You wake up in the middle of the night, heart pounding, drenched in cold sweat. A nightmare, vivid, suffocating, still clings to you like a second skin. But as you lie there, staring at the ceiling, a stranger thought creeps in. What if your worst fears aren't just nightmares? What if they're the architects of your waking life? You shake it off. Fear is just an emotion, right? A fleeting reaction to danger, a biological alarm system. But then, why does it feel like something more? Why do the same fears return, not just in dreams, but in your relationships, your career, your deepest insecurities? Why do they whisper in your ear when you hesitate, when you self-sabotage, when you choose safety over the life you truly want? Here's the unsettling truth. Your fears don't just respond to reality, they create it. Think of the last time you avoided a risk, a conversation you didn't have, a chance you didn't take. Was it truly rational caution, or was it fear wearing the mask of reason? Every time you yield to it, you grant it power. It carves grooves into your mind, shaping what you believe is possible. Over time, these grooves become canyons, inescapable ruts that dictate where your life can and cannot go. But the most insidious part? You don't even notice it happening. Fear doesn't always announce itself with panic attacks or phobias. It operates in subtler ways. Procrastination disguised as perfectionism, cynicism masquerading as wisdom, complacency pretending to be contentment. It convinces you that the walls of your comfort zone are the boundaries of the world. And the longer you live inside them, the more reality itself seems to conform to their shape. Consider this paradox. The things you fear most are rarely the things that destroy you. It's not the rejection, the failure, or the uncertainty that ruins lives. It's the avoidance of them. The careers never pursued, the loves never confessed, the truths never spoken. The real tragedy isn't suffering. It's the life you don't live because suffering might happen. So here's the great question. What if your reality is nothing more than the accumulated choices you've made to escape fear? What would that mean for your future? If fear shapes your decisions, then your decisions shape your identity. Every time you choose safety over growth, you become a little more of who you think you should be and a little less of who you are. Over time, this self-betrayal compounds. You forget what you wanted, what you loved, what you once dared to dream. You become a prisoner of the very instincts that were meant to protect you. But what if there's a way out? What if the key to dismantling this illusion isn't courage in the cliched sense? Not the absence of fear, but the reinterpretation of it? What if fear isn't your enemy, but a distorted reflection of your deepest desires? The German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." But what if the inverse is also true? He who has no why will invent a how to avoid living. And so we arrive at the precipice of a deeper truth, one that will unravel everything you thought you knew about fear, choice, and the nature of reality itself. But before we jump, we must first descend into the shadows. Because to understand how fear shapes your world, you must first see the invisible machinery at work, the psychological and philosophical forces that have been pulling your strings all along. And that is where the real nightmare begins. You tell yourself you're in charge, that your choices are yours alone, rational, deliberate, free. But beneath that illusion, something far more primal is at work. Fear doesn't just influence decisions, it hijacks them. And it does so by exploiting the deepest layers of your psyche, the parts of you that evolved long before logic, before language, before the concept of self even existed. Consider this. Your brain is not designed for truth. It is designed for survival. From the moment you were born, it began constructing a model of reality, not to reflect the world as it is, but to predict threats before they strike. It doesn't care about objective truth. It cares about patterns. And once it finds one, rejection hurts, failure is shameful, uncertainty is dangerous. It hardwires that lesson into your nervous system. This is why phobias can form from a single traumatic event, why childhood wounds dictate adult behavior, why you can know something isn't threatening, A crowded room, a harmless spider, the prospect of failure, and still feel your pulse quicken, your palms sweat, your body screaming, danger. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the repressed, denied, or ignored aspects of the self that nonetheless govern behavior. And fear is its favorite disguise. There's overt fear, the kind that makes you freeze before a stage or flee from conflict. But far more dangerous is covert fear, the kind that wears the mask of virtue, the fear of judgment that dresses itself as not wanting to bother anyone, the fear of failure that poses as waiting for the right moment, the fear of vulnerability that calls itself independence. These are the silent architects of your reality. They don't feel like fear, they feel like common sense, and that's what makes them so lethal. Now we arrive at the great philosophical dilemma. If fear shapes reality, what shaped fear? Arthur Schopenhauer saw existence as a pendulum between pain and boredom, a cycle driven by the will, an insatiable force that demands satisfaction but can never truly be satisfied. Fear, in this view, is the guardian of the will's demands. It keeps you chasing safety, status, love. Not because these things will fulfill you, but because the chase prevents you from confronting the void beneath it all. Jean-Paul Sartre took it further. Man is condemned to be free. You are thrust into existence without a predefined purpose, forced to choose at every turn, and that freedom is terrifying. So what do? You pretend it doesn't exist. You adopt roles, the good employee, the loyal friend, the responsible adult, and let those scripts dictate your life. Fear in this light isn't just an emotion. It's the glue holding together your inauthenticity. Aldous Huxley warned of a world where people would adore the technologies that undo their capacities to think. And here we are. Modern society doesn't just tolerate fear, it commodifies it. Social media feeds on your fear of irrelevance. The news cycle thrives on your fear of chaos. Consumer culture exploits your fear of inadequacy. Worse, it gives you tools to numb those fears. Endless scrolling, cheap dopamine, manufactured outrage, so you never have to face them. The result? A population that mistakes distraction for peace, addiction for comfort, and compliance for freedom. This is where most people stop. They either surrender, accepting fear as an unchangeable fact of life, or fight, declaring war on fear itself as if it were an enemy to be conquered. Both paths fail. The first leads to a life half-lived. The second leads to exhaustion, because fear cannot be eradicated. It is not a flaw, it is a feature of consciousness. So what's the alternative? To understand that fear is not your opponent, but your compass. That the things you fear most are not obstacles, but pointers, directing you toward the exact experiences you need to become who you're meant to be. But to grasp that, you must first see the true cost of living in fear's shadow. You must witness how it has already rewritten your past, how it is scripting your present, and, if left unchecked, how it will steal your future. The first lie you must unlearn. They told you courage is the absence of fear, that the brave feel no terror, the strong never waver, the enlightened rise above primal instincts. This is not just wrong, it's dangerously wrong. True rebellion doesn't begin with conquering fear, but with redefining it. Friedrich Nietzsche saw it clearly. The snake that cannot shed its skin perishes. Your fear isn't a cage, it's the old skin you've outgrown, but refuse to shed. And the moment you stop seeing it as your enemy, the revolution begins. The alchemy of fear. Ancient alchemists sought to turn lead into gold. Your task is more profound, turning fear into fuel. Step 1. The shadow hunt. Carl Jung's prescription was brutal in its simplicity. What you resist not only persists, but will grow in size. That anxiety about public speaking, it's not fear of the crowd, it's fear of your own inadequacy exposed. That terror of abandonment, it's not about others leaving, it's the unspoken conviction you're unworthy to stay. Conduct a fearless inventory. What do I avoid? Flinch from? Secretly believe I don't deserve. The pattern reveals your shadow, and in that darkness lies your unlived life. Step 2, the paradoxical embrace. Viktor Frankl survived Auschwitz by discovering this truth. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose. When fear strikes, feel it fully. Drop the resistance. Let your hands shake, your heart pound. Ask it, what are you here to teach me? Do the feared thing anyway, not despite the fear, but with it as your companion. This isn't positive thinking, it's powerful thinking. The neurobiology of rebellion. Your brain is plastic, not fixed. Every time you stay present during anxiety instead of numbing it, choose vulnerability over armor, act contrary to fearful predictions, you're literally rewiring neural pathways. MRI studies show mindfulness practitioners shrink their amygdala, fear center, while strengthening prefrontal cortex, rational control. Practical alchemy. The 90-second rule. When fear hits, set a timer. Emotions burn like chemical fires. Most extinguish in 90 seconds unless you feed them. Fear journaling. Track physical sensations, tight chest, mental scripts, I'll fail, and actual outcomes. Reality rarely matches the horror story. Jean-Paul Sartre insisted, "We are our choices." But here's the twist. Not choosing is still a choice. Every time you defer to fear, you vote for a smaller life. The rebellion? Treat inaction as the greater risk. Ask, what's the cost if I don't do this? Who would I become if I stopped obeying this fear? History's great rebels, from Galileo to Gandhi, shared one trait. They feared compliance more than consequences. This isn't about eliminating fear, it's about changing your relationship to it. When skydivers leap, their fear doesn't vanish. It transmutes into exhilaration. Your life's purpose works the same way. The fear of public speaking becomes the rush of impact. The terror of rejection becomes the freedom of authenticity. But to reach this, you must first confront the ultimate truth about reality itself. The revelation hidden in plain sight. You've been asking the wrong question all along, not how do I escape fear, but why does fear have such power over me in the first place? The answer will unravel everything. The existential secret fear's grip on you isn't about danger, it's about meaning. Viktor Frankl's Auschwitz Epiphany. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. Here's the inversion that changes everything. Your deepest fears are not threats, they are signposts. Fear of failure? It points to your unrealized potential. Fear of loneliness? It reveals your capacity for profound connection. Fear of death? It underscores your desperate, beautiful need to live fully while you can. The things that terrify you most are not obstacles. They are the coordinates of your destiny. Modern physics confirms what mystics always knew. Reality is participatory. Your observation changes the observed. In psychological terms, the student who fears math failure becomes the student who can't learn math. The entrepreneur terrified of bankruptcy attracts the very scarcity they dread. The lover afraid of abandonment creates relationships that confirm their unworthiness. And this isn't law of attraction mysticism, it's neuroscientific fact. Your reticular activating system filters reality to match your dominant expectations. Your brain literally sees what it believes. All this time you thought, when I'm no longer afraid, then I'll live. The truth is inverted. When you fully live, you'll no longer fear. Not because fear disappears, but because it loses its tyranny over you. Like a child who realizes monsters under the bed were just shadows all along, your terror transforms when illuminated by action. At the edge of this understanding, you stand before two doors. Door number one, continue negotiating with fear. Make small, safe choices, die with your music still inside you. Door number two, let fear be your compass instead of your jailer. Accept that great love requires risk of heartbreak. Realize that playing small serves no one, least of all you. This was never about courage. It was always about love. Love for the self you've betrayed with every compromise. Love for the world that needs your unexpressed gifts. Love for the raw, trembling, magnificent act of being alive. When Nietzsche's madman proclaimed God is dead, he wasn't celebrating. He was mourning humanity's loss of meaning. Your rebellion completes the circle. You must become the meaning you seek. Not by defeating fear, but by dancing with it. Not by finding certainty, but by creating from uncertainty. Not by waiting for permission, but by taking your birthright. The unbearable lightness. There's a moment in every transformation when you realize you were free all along. The chains were made of smoke. The prison door was never locked. The only thing holding you back was your belief that you needed to be held. Tomorrow morning, when you wake, feel your heartbeat. Recall one fear that's been whispering to you. Ask it, what would I do if I loved myself? Do that thing while afraid. This is how greatness is born. Not from fearlessness, but from the sacred marriage of terror and transcendence. The world needs your particular madness, your unique flavor of courage, your unrepeatable act of defiance against the mundane. They will call you reckless. They will warn you to be careful. Smile and leap anyway.